No, go right ahead.
I think I'll still read off the paper.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Did you want to sit closer? So you can. Sure my phone is. You make sure it doesn't ring during this, right? That would be. I don't even want mine to vibrate, so let me see. How long is your flight from New Hampshire?
I'm from Massachusetts, so it was supposed to be 2 hours, and then they were having technological problems with the plane. I was in Mass.
Always have a technical problem.
It was spring break.
When you're partying
It's
that
been
way.
but it turned into like a 6-hour waffle yesterday, so. But we're here now, so it works out.
Where are we going?
Everybody's in there.
Um,
We get started.
yeah. We had,
Perfect, thank you.
I was on our way to Hawaii and we rerouted because somebody on the plane
this way,
had a medical emergency. So we took off from O'Hare, got rerouted.
I did move that
to
one
Minneapolis
chair,
for
so,
like
yeah, there's a
half
one
an
right
hour.
there, and then just took this up.
Is
I
that
don't,
yours?
whatever they
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it's possibly that.
So they stopped in
Safe potential.
Indianapolis and they let all these people, you know, this whole family out there, had to search for their loved one. And so then I'm like, and I was trying to figure out how we got from Chicago to Indianapolis when we were supposed to end up, but I guess that was the nearest place that could take us or something. And at one time we were for the months. I'm just, so then we had to get more fuel because we were going to, California.
What's that? I turned the TV off.
Or actually,
So what I did is I just connected it so it's on, and then when it gets to the point for him, I can just turn the TV back on.
But they held the
He turns it.
because most of the people are on the plane catching this,
Thanks.
so, since there was more than just my husband and I, decided to hold the plane in Seattle for us. Because we're like, our room ride trip took a while.
It was like, I thought I was going to Hawaii, and I ended up in Indianapolis.
I don't know what's going on. My husband was eating it. Why are we
The only
stuck
thing I'm
in
wondering about is
this?
trying to
I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
Between here, between there, and, you know, I was just like, whatever.
I'm mid-range. They always laugh when I do that. Tell me, follow steps and interpret results. That's
5 hours, one
I just know the steps to follow when I'm doing the software. Let the software do it, and I can interpret the.
and then we didn't even have time to, you know.
I'm reading on my camera, so we'll record at least.
We had to run to the,
Wow. So, you know, it's always so stressful when you gotta run through the airport.
I shouldn't say we had to run, we got the guy, the park thing, picked a bunch of us up. And, you know, kind of, everybody was on there, people just walk in, run, like, you know, people. Not running.
That's great. I know, I was just really over
Surprised they don't run into those.
And then I don't.
They're thinking about it.
Yeah, he got a little flow.
Okay.
Nothing like the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
That was nifty.
Yeah, I got everything I need. It's my water bag. And everything I need.
I just thought my bike bag, my backpack.
Yeah.
It works, but I really love that.
Yeah, you can get it on B&H photo video.
Yeah, that's my jam.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, I have to wear them. So one time I'm at work, I have to hold it apart. I did first one, this place.
I like to take this up here real bit, so I'm hiding mine.
I don't wanna switch off the app, so I can't.
How do you know what channel that That's what she needs, the assistant. I did the same thing, but I did it with, something worse, but I brought my pistol because we were traveling alone, but I left it, I took it off when I was driving, and I left it in my back seat. So we get into this hotel, and I'm like, what am I missing? Like, the one thing I thought, I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, I had to go back out there and grab it. I'm like, that's the thing I forget, I forget things. You can't have that.
Hey, I put on Teams that because computer and stuff, but they're not rolling yet. I don't know if you could update that.
Nope.
They are not rolling on because my unit is not live, so. Oh, I take that back, it is live. Okay, are we good then? Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Hi Amy, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. So,
Yep, I can hear you too.
so I think what's gonna happen is the sheriff will, speak and then, introduce your PowerPoint, and then I will just pop up briefly for the one slide that I have, and the rest is you, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Is the sheriff going to announce the ID, ahead of me speaking? Cause I have it, laid out as if she's already been named.
Do you wanna share your slides so the sheriff can see real quick what you can say?
Sure, let me, my screen isn't live on the TV right now, right? It doesn't look like it. Your title screen up on TV. Yeah, if that works. Can you see that?
Anthony, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Understand what that means. Yeah, she'll be identified before you start.
that make
Okay,
sense to
great,
you?
so I'll just
Yeah.
leave
Okay.
my
Well,
screen
no,
share
but it did
off
to me.
until, you finish speaking, and
Or if you want, Anthony, you could leave yours on, I'll just leave the TV off, and when it gets to your point, I'll just turn the TV on.
that's fine, and I'll just have myself muted, and I'll be able to hear what's going on. I have like my phone and the screen running, and my tech crew, who's also the people who help me put everything together here. And so I think that works out just fine, and I'll be able to know when you're having me on the first.
Okay, perfect, well, we'll go ahead and mute you, and I think we're ready to go start.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I just knew they wouldn't be
We
here.
don't like to give a classroom lecture.
That's all right, that's all right, it's all good. Okay.
Everybody ready?
Well, good morning, and thank you everyone for being here. A hard copy of this press release is going to be released at a later time after this conference this morning. Thank you specifically State Representative Dave Stevern for joining us today for this important news. And I am pleased to report investigators of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and specialists of Rittgrave Research Forensic Services have confirmed the identity of Ina Jane Doe, an unidentified woman whose remains were discovered 29 years ago in Jefferson County. The identity of that woman is Susan Lund of Clarksville, Tennessee. With me today are Dr. Amy Michael with the University of New Hampshire, author and professor at Georgia State University, Laura Norton, Casey Connolly of the Rittgrave Research Services, Anthony Rittgrave, also of Rittgrave Research Services, who will be joining us online here momentarily, Detective Captain Bobby Wallace from the Sheriff's Office, and retired Detective Captain Scott Burge. I want to thank Coroner Roger Hayes for also joining us. And I also want to thank the family of Susan Lund for being here to join us today. On January 27th of 1993, near the village of Ina, Illinois, the head of a white female was discovered on the side of a wooded roadway within Wayne Fitzgerald State Park. The Sheriff's Office and the Illinois State Police began their investigation, trying to determine who the victim was. After several attempts to try to generate leads to identify the victim, which is crucial in any homicide investigation, the case went cold for many years. In February of 2021, Dr. Amy Michael approached investigators with the Sheriff's Office and offered to re-examine the case using new and updated forensic methods. At that time, the Sheriff's Office turned the evidence over to Dr. Michaels and researchers and scientists with the Rittgrave Research Forensic Services group, and they began their work. And it was impressive work that led to break open the case. And at this time, I would like to turn this conference over to Anthony Rittgrave, who I advise will be online with us to explain the process of how this identification was made. Anthony, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Need a little more volume.
Hello? You need to turn on
Yes.
the... There you go, now I can hear you. Okay. Hi, let me pop myself into full screen here. There we go. Am I in full screen on your end now. There we go. All right. Hello, my name is Anthony Rittgrave, and I'm the co-founder and lead forensic genetic genealogist at Rittgrave Research Forensic Services. My genealogy team was privileged to assist in bringing answers to the family of Susan Lund, who was loved and missed very much. Susan went missing on December 24th, 1992, after leaving her family home to walk to a nearby store. Her husband reported her missing soon after. An investigation into her disappearance ensued and was ultimately closed without a real resolution, but her family never stopped looking for her. Today I'll be going over the investigative process that led us to this identification. This is a brief timeline of the case as it relates to our work. On January 27th, 1993, Ina Jane Doe's remains were found at Rend Lake, Rend Lake, Illinois. The initial anthropological analysis and subsequent academic paper published in July 1996 stressed a hypothesis of Jane Doe having torticollis or Rye-neck syndrome. Dr. Amy Michael approached the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in February of 2021 to suggest a reanalysis of the remains, including a new biological profile and forensic genetic genealogy. On January 18th of this year, we announced our involvement in the renewed identification efforts, along with a new forensic image by Carl Koppelman, seen here in the middle of the screen, who took a less extreme approach in portraying Jane Doe's facial asymmetry according to Dr. Michael's reanalysis. In the beginning of February, we received the DNA profile from Astrea Forensics and uploaded it to GEDmatch. Within a day of upload, the genealogy team narrowed their search to Susan Lund's immediate family. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office reached out to Susan's family for interview and to request a DNA sample from an immediate relative. On March 6th, the confirmatory DNA sample finished processing, and we directly compared the relative's DNA sample to Ina Jane Doe's sample on GEDmatch, confirming Jane Doe's identity as Susan Lund. I'm going to pass this slide over to Dr. Amy Michael if she wishes to speak or if she wants me to read this title.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. I'll be brief. My name is Amy Michael. I'm an anthropology professor at the University of New Hampshire, though I am an Illinois native and I'm from right around Peoria, so I knew of this case for many years. A reanalysis of the skeletal and dental remains took place at my secure lab at the University of New Hampshire with assistance from Dr. Samantha Blatt from Idaho State University, who is a friend and a colleague. Updated forensic methods were applied to estimate the age, sex, and ancestry. All of these were generally confirmed, though I believe that Ina Jane Doe was a little bit younger than what was originally reported. I determined that the facial asymmetry that Ina Jane Doe expressed was more mild than originally thought, and so that new forensic art that you'll see reflected here reflects my reanalysis. So concurrent to my anthropological research, Laura Norton, a writer and researcher based in Georgia who is also here today, began to comb through possible missing persons matches in the immediate region and actually throughout the Midwest. So all of our national databases have improved a lot since 1993. And so Ms. Norton was able to search for potential matches as well as similar crimes locally and throughout the region. She also continued to research the recovery scene and utilize digitized newspaper databases to provide additional context. So that's sort of our part, and I'm going to hand it back over to Anthony for the rest of the genealogy.
Thank you, Amy. I would like to say that Amy and everyone who's ever worked on this case has really set us up for success, where as the forensic genetic genealogists, we tend to be the closers on cases, and it's really the investigative process laid a good foundation for us. So one of the first things that we look at when we've uploaded a DNA data file to GEDmatch is the admixture, or estimate of the ethnicities present in an individual's ancestry. Based on our assessment of Ina Jane Doe's admixture, we initially hypothesized that her ancestors had been in the United States for several generations and was descended and was not descended from recent immigrants. This is due to the small amounts of indigenous and African DNA present in her admixture. After evaluating the genetic admixture, we look at the list of matches in the database that from most to least genetic material shared. Logically, we'll look at those that are potentially the most closely related first, but we may need to look at more distant relatives depending on how the research goes. The total shared between Jane Doe and her DNA matches can be used to make an estimate of their actual relationship to each other, but that relationship has to be confirmed with genealogical research, as there are a number of different relationships two people can have depending on how much genetic material they share. In this case, the closest relative shared 432.1 centimorgans with Jane Doe, centimorgan being a unit of measurement in autosomal DNA, making their relationship most likely to be a half first cousin or first cousin once removed. There are a number of other potential relationships that are less likely but still possible, making identification take a little longer than a direct one-to-one comparison. But we won't know the actual relationship between the two until we get closer to making identification. We'll usually look at dozens of DNA matches and build their family trees as we work on the case. The DNA matches in the database are most likely, are not only likely relatives of Jane Doe, but some are relatives of each other. Through a process called triangulation, we assume that if we can determine how two DNA matches are related to each other, Jane Doe probably descends from the same family since she shares DNA with them. So we look for most recent common ancestors, or MRCAs, a couple or individual who are in the direct pedigree of two or more DNA matches. We will find several MRCA couples during research that will cluster together, often indicating that there are two sides of a Doe's family tree. We found that we had two clusters of matches very early on, one group descending from this Neil McGill that you'll see on the right of the screen and Mary Gibbons, and another group including a group of 4 siblings and their parent and grandparent who descend from Michael Parmentier and Maria Oakley, and their descendants, Charles Menard and Caroline Dorr. The next step in the process was figuring out how these two groups intersect with each other. We use a tool called What Are the Odds, or WADO, to create conditional probability hypotheses based on the MRCA clusters you just saw. In this chart, you'll see the DNA matches that descend from Neil McGill and Mary Gibbons. By using the combined probabilities of Jane Doe's potential relationships with the DNA matches and their relationship to each other through a common ancestor, the WADO tool can be used to rank hypothetical individuals in the probability tree by likelihood. You can see in this chart that hypotheses 1 and 2 are the most likely, 76 times more likely than hypothesis 3, and we can see what relationships are not possible. So this, we use this tool to guide our research throughout the entire investigative process, and it makes things go a lot more smoothly for us. Since we have 2 MRCA clusters, we can make 2 WADO trees, and this is the Parmentier and Oakley descendants. You can see that there are 2 hypotheses that are possible, and hypothesis 3 is given a score of 10, being 10 times more likely than hypothesis 1. So that really helped us narrow down very quickly. Since there's 2 different groups of DNA matches, there's one that's likely to be on Jane Doe's maternal side, and the other is likely on her paternal sides. So now we're looking for a crossover common ancestor, or a couple consisting of one individual descended from one MRCA group and one individual descended from a different MRCA group, representing a place where the DNA of both could combine in their descendants. We found that Charles Menard and Caroline Dorn had a grandson, Frederick Menard. His wife, Gladys Hardy is the daughter of Charles Hardy and Gladys Pearson, Charles Hardy is a descendant of Neil McGill, who we saw in the other MRCA chart. And the highest match, the likely first cousin once removed, is more closely related to him than the more distant MRCA. We found that this couple had several children, including Susan Lund, and she did not have a documented death date, and there was no evidence of an address or proof of life activity after 1993. We continued to do historical research and found that she had been reported missing by her family, and there had been an extensive search for her over the course of many months, which was ultimately closed without resolution. We reported our findings to JCSO and presented them with Susan's information and the names of her living siblings. Detective Bobby Wallace then reached out to the living family, and a confirmatory DNA sample was requested. We received the confirmatory DNA match on March 6th and uploaded the data to GEDmatch the same day for direct one-to-one comparison to Jane Doe's data. They were found to share 2,592.5 centimorgans with each other, which you can see here in this shared centimorgan calculator is 100% consistent with the values shared with a full sibling. Now you can see there is a very slim possibility of a few other relationships, but none of these would account for both sides of this family being represented in Jane Doe's DNA. This is the really satisfying part that I like, and the part that we always hope to see when we're getting close to an identification. So adding these numbers to the Watto probability trees that we showed you earlier rendered all other hypotheses no longer possible, except for as a full sibling of the target tester. When the other distant relatives in the database were included, this makes none of the other relationships possible. With this, we were able to confirm that the identity of Ina Jane Doe, recovered in January of 1993, is Susan Lund, who went missing after leaving her family home in Clarksville, Tennessee, on December 24th, 1992. This chart represents Susan Lund's relationships to the key matches in the DNA database that we used to determine Ina Jane Doe's identity. When they're checked individually or in combination with each other, Jane Doe's shared DNA with the DNA matches is consistent with Susan Lund's actual relationship to them. For some statistics, by the time we reached the identification, there were 2,044 individuals in our working genealogy tree, which is a remarkably low number for our usual cases, which usually take much longer than this. This one turned out pretty impressive in the end. So we researched a total of 23 DNA matches, pedigrees, and found 4 MRCA couples amongst them. We located the family of interest and Susan herself the same day that we began genealogical research. There were 10 genealogical researchers total working on this case with us, including us. You can see Carl Koppelman's forensic reconstruction, a photo of Susan, and in the center a superimposition of Susan with the reconstruction. So you can see, in addition, Carl's forensic art lines up with her features very well. And we're very grateful to Carl for his work. And the team here at Rittgrave Research would like to express our condolences to the family of Susan Lund, as well as our gratitude to everyone who has been involved in efforts to identify her. Some acknowledgements of those who have worked on this case with us at this time. Our research partner and team co-lead is Laura Norton. The lead forensic genetic genealogist on the case were myself and my partner, Lee Bingham Rittgrave. The genealogy team consisted of Casey Connolly, who is present at the conference right now, Samantha Dunn, Chelsea Hanrahan, Andrea McCarthy, Elizabeth Marshall, Pam Stigson, and Jessica Velstra. Why did my slide go backwards? The genealogical database and research tools that we used primarily to solve this case are GEDmatch, owned by Verogen, and DNA Painter, created by Johnny Pearl, and the many tools available there which greatly help our research at all times. The forensic art was provided by Carl Koppelman. DNA processing was conducted by Kelly Harkins Kincaid and Astrea Forensics in Santa Cruz, California. And the anthropology team involved in the reanalysis of the remains includes Dr. Amy Michael of the University of New Hampshire, Kiana Burgess, Audrey Waterman, and Ashanti Maroney of the University of New Hampshire, Dr. Samantha Blatt of Idaho State University, Dr. Stefan Poltak, Dr. Andrew Albee of Suncook Dental, and the Hubbard Center for Genetic Studies, Hubbard Center for Genomics Studies at the University of New Hampshire. If you'd like to contact us for further information, you can see our website at redgraveresearch.com, email us at admin@redgraveresearch.com, and our social media is available here. If you're interested in helping forensic genetic genealogists solve more cases by uploading your DNA to GEDmatch, we have how-to guides at help.fgforla.com. If you would like to ask questions related to anthropological analysis, please contact Amy at Dr. Amy Michael at amy.michael@unh.edu. And if you have any further information about the actions and or whereabouts of Susan Lund on or following December 2nd, 1992, December 24th, 1992, those questions and information should be directed to Detective Captain Bobby Wallace at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. You can call him at 618-244-8004 or email bwallace@jeffil.us. That concludes my section, and I will turn it over to the next speaker.
Thank you, Anthony and Dr. Michael. The Sheriff's Office extends its sincerest condolences to the family of Susan Lund. Unfortunately, in most homicide investigations, victim identification is done very quickly, and we can move forward following up every lead and determining victimology to try to ascertain the truth as to what happened to the victim. That has taken much longer now. But that doesn't stop our mission. And our mission is still to find the truth about what happened to Susan. And Detective Captain Wallace has that charge, where he will be working with our brothers and sisters down in Clarksville, Tennessee, to determine what that truth is. And the Sheriff's Office stands ready to assist the Lund family any way you need us. Please reach out to us. Members of the public who might have information regarding the whereabouts of Susan Lund on or before December 24th of 1992, please contact the Sheriff's Office, Detective Captain Wallace. The information's already been provided by Anthony. There's also through our Sheriff's app, also through our Sheriff's Office Facebook page. And you can also contact Jefferson County Crime Stoppers if you want to stay anonymous at 618-242-8477. We look forward to any and all leads that this generates. We look forward, once again, to working with our fellow agency in Tennessee to get to the bottom of this. Because it's a reopened homicide investigation, there's not going to be any other specific details released about the case at this time, due to the fact that we are just going to roll up our sleeves and start digging into it again, and we want to make sure what's proper to be released and what needs to remain confidential. So that being said, thank you all once again for coming. I appreciate it, and thank you to the work of the Sheriff's Office Detective Division and also the researchers and scientists associated with Rittgrave Research Forensic Services. Thank you, everyone.
Could you just state your name, please, for me?
Jeff Bullard, Senior, Sheriff of Jefferson County.
Right there.
Thank you, everyone.